Sophia Bush is Princess Leia.
We want to know if you could make that swing using a grappling hook.
It's about a log crushing an armored vehicle.
Beautiful.
Perfect. Luke is going into the Tauntaun. And I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
It's the MythBusters Star Wars Special.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
I am your father.
and Jamie Heineman.
I kind of like it in here. It's private.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Carrie Byron,
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Tori Belleci,
Never.
and Grant Imahara.
We can rule the universe together.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
I really don't get why you're into these things.
Into what things?
Costumes.
I appreciate you trying to understand, but have you even seen Star Wars?
Probably.
Should we just get started?
Sure.
Okay. In Star Wars, Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia are trying to escape the Death Star. They're running from stormtroopers, and they get behind a closed door only to find their path blocked by a chasm they cannot cross.
Quick, we've got to get across.
Luke pulls a grappling hook from his belt, swings it across some piece of Death Star hardware, grabs Leia in his arm,
Good luck.
and swings to safety.
So, we want to know if you could make that swing using a cable and a grappling hook while holding on to your sister, who you have the hots for.
That is one way of looking at it, yes.
Spoiler alert.
So with a battalion of stormtroopers in hot pursuit, can Luke's unlikely leap really be done?
Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
It's actually funny that you say that, because in point of fact, I'm a little tall to be a stormtrooper.
Yeah, whatever. Let's shoot this pig.
Not so fast, Heineman.
I know, with the stormtrooper costume and all, it looks like we're ready to dive whole hog into the Star Wars universe. But wait, hold your horses, because there's a whole bunch of setup to tell you about before we even get to this point. Now, we ran into a unique problem when we were planning out for this episode, which is that all of the Death Stars in California are being hired, and we couldn't use any of them. So, second best was to come here to this beautiful previous century supply warehouse on Mare Island up in Northern California. This is one of our favorite locations, and we've shot a few great stories here. It's kind of like Death Star 1860, don't you think? It's beautiful.
And when it comes to the spectacular special guest starring grand finale, it has the height required for the stomach-churning leap for freedom.
They're coming.
We got to get out of here.
But first, what's the experimental plan of action?
Now, in examining Luke's swing across the chasm, Jamie and I have broken it down into 3 distinct elements, each of which that needs testing. Number 1 is the behavior of the grappling hook.
Second would be his belt. Would that be sufficient to support him while swinging on a line?
And third is the addition of Princess Leia. Luke doesn't swing alone across the chasm, he's got a passenger.
Since this first test involves a grappling hook, I'm going to have to make one. And it's going to have to be identical to what Luke used in the movie. And there we go. Sweet.
And with accurate grappling hook in hand,
Ah, that is gorgeous, dude. That looks exactly like the movie.
it's test 1. Can you hit the target and wrap and hook as easily as Luke?
What are we throwing it over?
Ah, we got a nice target right from the Death Star for you, right up there.
Wow, that's quite a ways away. That thing is about 30, 35 feet away. And I gotta tell you, That's quite a shot to do in one go. Can I use the force, or do you want me to do this manually?
Whatever works for you.
Okay. I have no idea where this is going to go.
Oh!
Catch it? Thanks.
Clearly, it's not as simple as the young Skywalker would have us believe.
Oh! The height was about sufficient.
From the same distance and angle as in the movie,
All right, so now it's up there.
Jamie's struggling to get close.
Heading everywhere but the mats.
It's clear he needs a whole Yoda practice.
So close. Now, Luke is clearly the quintessential action hero and only needing one chance, one try to get the grappling hook over the correct target. Not quite. In reality, at this point, if Jamie was Luke, Luke and Leia would be clapped in iron somewhere in a trash disposal, somewhere in the depths of the Death Star, and the movie's over. But it can't end there. He's got to eventually get it. Okay, man, this one's for the princess.
He finally made the throw. But will it grapple and catch like in the movie?
That's a hook.
Give me a high five. He got it. He got it. Look at that. Look at that. I think you get full marks for not using the force, because it's clear that you weren't. Plausible, but unlikely. Let's face it, Jamie had all the time in the world and as many tries as he wanted, and he didn't have anyone shooting at him. Yes!
Good luck.
He got it! He got it!
Next up, we're going to have a closer look at Luke's belt, because that's what his grappling hook appears to be attached to when he does his swing. Now, I know this would work with a harness, but that's an awful lot of weight to support on a belt. We're going to have to try it out. Ready, Wookie?
So, can a waist belt really support you and your twin without serious injury?
Yeah, a little bit more this way.
To find out Adam and the walking carpet, go to work matching the exact layout from the silver screen scene. But when he gets a look at the 30-foot wide chasm, our stand-in Skywalker's worried.
So you want me to swing from here to there just using that? I don't think so. This is more like it. Baby steps first.
Jamie's concern supporting the weight at his waist will lead to serious injury. So, with crash pads and a shorter swing distance closer to the ground, he can be lowered immediately if there's any danger.
Normally, if you knew that you were going to take a fall or swing on a rope, you'd wear a harness that went between the legs.
Wanna hop up?
Okay. If I jumped off of a height on a rope on this thing, I'd be worried about breaking some ribs.
Let's take it up.
I guess we're going to have to try it to find out.
Jamie
That's not...
is clearly uncomfortable with the belt bruising his ribs.
Princess delivery, here you go.
And with the added weight of a twin, will he even make it?
Just turn around.
I think.
Oh, God.
Remember, stormtroopers are shooting at you. Pew, pew, pew.
You ready, girl? Oh. Oh.
How you doing, sport?
I'm all right, but man, that hurts.
Over the short distance, it was agony. Over the full 30 feet, it would be excruciating. But it can be done.
So, when it comes to the belt, I have to admit, it might be a plausible way to survive a 30-foot chasm swing. But it ain't a safe way, i.e. injury-free way, especially when one is holding on to precious cargo like a princess.
With two marginally plausible calls, this myth is barely hanging on.
We're gonna need a different solution for the real swing.
Can part 3, the full swing with a real twin, rescue the result from the Darth Maul of defeat? To find out, it's safety first.
For this third and final test, I'm going to be swinging from 30 feet away over there to here. Of course, this time around, I'm going to be wearing a proper safety harness, which hopefully won't hurt me. And we've put safety mats down in case something goes horribly wrong.
Hopefully not. Now that is a harness.
The belt, already proven to work in a pinch, literally, has been put aside in favor of a harness that will allow not-so-Jedi Jamie to complete the final test pain-free.
Howdy, sir.
All Adam and Jamie are missing is a real-life Leia look-alike.
Dear Adam and Jamie, one of the things I love the most in the world is MythBusters. It would be my dream come true if I could help you guys bust a Star Wars myth. Love, Sophia.
What was that?
That was our awkward transition to introduce our actress, Sophia Bush.
Q, star of NBC's Chicago PD and massive MythBusters fan, Sophia Bush.
Hello, gentlemen. Jamie, can I be your Princess Leia?
Oh, shucks.
Now, Jamie, I do want to point out that Sophia came to play, dressed the part and everything. Don't you think you might want to put on something a little more appropriate?
Fine.
You look fantastic.
Okay, well, let's get started.
In a redwood forest not so far, far away, it's Carrie, Grant, and Tori's turn to get their nerd on.
Okay, guys, so this is the Star Wars special, and we're in a forest. Guess where we are?
So clearly we're on Endor, so we must be doing Ewok myths.
That's exactly right. We're doing the scene from Return of the Jedi, where the Ewoks attack the all-terrain scout transport and smash it with 2 giant logs.
We're basically going to see how much damage we can do to an armored vehicle using nothing but giant swinging logs.
Essentially, this is a physics myth about forces.
Not the Force?
No, Grant. Use the science, Grant.
R2, roll the clip.
It's a fictional battle scene from a fictional universe, but the hypothesis still stands. Could a primitive log swing weapon really take out a reinforced armored vehicle?
Should we be in character?
No.
Oh, it's much better. That was totally the wrong Leia. It's Endor Leia.
So it occurs to me that we're gonna need 2 things for this: an AT-ST and a giant swinging log rig.
The builds for this experiment are going to be insane. That log crushing rig looks gigantic.
All right, sounds good. Guess we better get started.
Back here on Earth,
Let's put it over there.
the team prepares for one of the biggest builds it's ever attempted.
Hey, R2, who's your favorite MythBuster? Aw, you're just saying that.
They're recreating the massive forest of Endor
Mine.
and the Ewoks' ingenious giant log swing.
Why this abandoned field, you ask? Why not something that looks more like the forest moon of Endor, the natural habitat of the Ewoks? Well, we don't actually know what's going to happen when the logs hit their target. So we need a safety perimeter, a large, wide open space. And that makes this the ideal location.
The question is, how are we going to suspend them in midair so that way we can actually pull them apart and let them crush our walker? Well, we're going to plant our own trees, or telephone poles at least, with the help of industrial power solutions. They're going to auger some holes, we're going to lower the poles into it, and save a bunch of time.
You know what? I don't really care what your script says. I don't think Slave Leia was in this scene. No.
From the movie, the team has determined that the height of the chicken walker is 20 feet, the logs swing from 45 degrees, and what the relative size of those logs are. At 10 feet long and 5 feet in diameter, the answer is
Whoa! That's insane!
Oh my God!
big.
Now, Now, in the movie, it looks like the Ewoks used redwood, but since it wasn't planet Earth, we don't really know what kind of wood it was.
Oh, R2! Oh, Master Luke is not going to be happy.
So we decided here on Earth, we wanted to go with the hardest wood we could find, which happens to be eucalyptus.
Weighing in at 10,000 pounds each, the guys get busy cross-bracing and cable anchoring the structure to support them.
Is that 45? I think that's 45-ish.
With that done, it's time to log and roll.
Tori and I are putting the logs into place. Now, how do you move a 10,000-pound log when your forklift only has a 9,000-pound capacity? Yee-haw! Log rodeo! Carefully. Out of my way, people!
Next up, the mission-critical operation of craning the logs into position.
Now, it's going to be very tricky because, as you can see, the structure has a lot of bracing, and it's going to be difficult to actually get the logs inside of it. That's terrifying. Now, remember, these things are 10,000 pounds, and there's not a lot of room for mistakes.
That's a lot of stretch right there.
I mean, if this 10,000 pound goes crashing to one side or the other, the whole thing could come down.
Okay, well, it's holding the log up. That's good.
Round 2.
Looking good.
And trunk 2.
Whoa, why is that spinning like that? Holy crap. All right.
Is nervously
Keep coming.
maneuvered into position. And despite the structure protesting,
Ooh, can you hear the cracking?
once raised and supported,
Yeah,
it seems to be holding.
that's pretty gorgeous.
Okay, you were good.
As far as stressful work days go, this is reasonably stressful.
And with the relief comes the anticipation.
I'm getting excited! This is so cool!
Now, the question is, will the rig actually rock? To find out, they're starting out with a test swing on a test vehicle.
Now, this is just our proof of concept right here. This is not remotely worthy of a light armored vehicle that the Empire might put out into the Ewok forest.
Oh, watch my paint job.
We just want to make sure that our logs are lined up, that our rig is working, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see this thing crush.
Concentrate, Luke. Use the Force.
So in the movie, the Ewoks cut one log, then they cut the other log. Here in the real world, we're gonna release both logs simultaneously. Now, how much energy are we talking about here? Well, each log weighs 10,000 pounds. We raise them up to approximately 45 degrees.
Okay, carry hold there. Tori, let's have you boom in.
Back of the envelope math says that that's upwards of 1,000,000 joules.
You know, the structure is making a lot of noise right now.
This is looking crazy.
And oh yeah, that's each log, which means 2 million joules of energy hitting that van.
I don't know if we're gonna be able to get it to 45 degrees. I don't think it's gonna hold.
Yeah, I agree. This is not looking that good.
With neither log close to 45 degrees and the rig in real danger of collapse,
It's starting to crack.
the team decides to cut their losses and let loose.
I say we call it right here.
Okay, I'm getting out of here.
In 3, 2, 1.
Jamie has slipped into something a little more uncomfortable.
You look fantastic.
To find out if the Star Wars swing is possible. With the rib-breaking belt benched, in favor of a safety-first harness, can he hang on to Sophia while crossing the chasm? To check the rig, Jamie first flies solo.
3, 2, 1.
And then prepares himself for the real deal
Nicely done. Well done.
with a dummy demo.
Sophia, this is what it's gonna sort of be like when you're up here with me. So Here we go. Oops.
It's gonna be like that?
No,
I'm
like
really
that.
excited.
It won't be like that. You'll be able to hold on
Okay.
over there.
Okay.
Nice work, Jamie.
I am confident that Jamie's not going to drop me. So I'm excited just to get up there and do it.
That is exactly the right attitude. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun.
Me too. And you know, if not, I'm sure my buns will save me.
Both arms around like that.
And so it comes down to this.
Well,
How are you holding the rope?
I'm holding it with this hand.
With the first two pieces of the puzzle already proven plausible,
Gotta come down.
Coming in.
Jamie's expertly strapped in for the third and final test, the twin toe.
Stormtroopers ready. All right, Luke and Leia, it's up to you. Get into character, make this happen. On your mark.
They're coming.
We gotta get out of here.
You totally did it! Excellent! Well done! Fight the Empire! After all of this breakdown and all of this planning, that could not have gone better. Very satisfying. Every bit as much fun as you'd think. You totally made it! Well done! That was
Good job.
So fun. Can we do it again?
Fight me, Empire!
Well, we pretty much nailed that, but I gotta say, most of the stuff we're testing here has been pretty borderline. If it's a life and death situation, sure, you can throw a grappling hook, but are you gonna be able to get it in one go? And yes, you can swing on a cable, but tying it onto your belt and carrying another person, life and death situation, sure, but it's all pretty dodgy, really.
All right, dudes, we don't have much time because the Empire is coming. How do you want to call this one? Sophia?
I mean, we made it across, so I say plausible.
Jamie?
Well, you know, it's clearly possible, but that makes me want to say it's confirmed.
Okay, we got it.
Plausible.
You ready for the next one?
I guess.
The myth we've got comes from the Star Wars movie, The Empire Strikes Back. Darkness is falling on the ice planet of Hoth.
Don't do this, Luke.
Han has ridden a beast called a Tauntaun to find Luke. Han slices open the belly of the Tauntaun and puts Luke inside and says,
This may smell bad, kid. But it'll keep you warm till I get the shelter up.
the question for us to answer is, did Han make the right cold weather survival call for Luke?
Great. Let's go to Hoth and test it.
Cool.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Jamie's got a point. To bring the myth back to Earth, Adam and Jamie will eventually replicate Hoth's inhospitable environment and find a way to safely test human hypothermia while neck-deep in internal organs.
Here comes the spleen.
But the first task is to make a tauntaun to house those guts.
Embarking on a build like a 8-foot-tall tauntaun in 2 days with one hand is kind of like a circus performer putting his head in the lion's mouth. He's pretty sure it's gonna go okay. From using the grid system to transfer the image of the Tauntaun to this block of foam, I couldn't even lift by myself.
The first cut, contrary to popular belief, is not the deepest.
To the fact that just cutting out the basic shape of the Tauntaun in that block of foam took 2 hours and left me sweaty and spent and exhausted.
Oh, get a big piece of foam, I said. I'll carve a Tauntaun out of it, I said. Luckily, Jamie gave me advice about when he used to slice whale blubber off the minke whales in the 1870s. There we go.
Once I finally got my foam tool out and started cutting the contours of the Tauntaun, the shape came into being much faster than I expected. Oh, right, you've been wondering why I'm wearing a splint. It's because I was moving a piece of safety equipment and it fell on my hand and crushed the top of my second metacarpal. Ow! And ironic. All right. My Tauntaun is totally complete in terms of being sculpted, but he needs an outer layer of skin and fur, and that's where this comes in. Time to fur you up, dude. I'm making literally the stuffed animal I dreamed about when I was 12 years old. You're a good boy. Monsters are such interesting people. There we go. He's no longer armless.
Meanwhile, Jamie's ensuring he's not gutless either.
Tauntauns are made up of all sorts of stuff, but we're interested in the gut cavity because that's where Luke is going to be spending the night. So I've got to make a whole bunch of disgusting organs and viscera. Yeah, baby. And that will conduct heat the same way it would on the planet Hoth.
Cue our resident mad scientist. Using a melt and mold plastic, Jamie searches for the perfect recipe for the perfect fake organ lining.
That right there is the Tauntaun appendix.
But it takes several hours of trial and error
it's ripping.
before Dr. Frankenheineman
We have such fun.
hits on the right formula and manufacturing technique.
That's what I'm talking about. This kind of experimentation is pretty much the only way you get to this sort of result. Tauntaun guts. When we fill this with some kind of goopy stuff, it's gonna look totally organic.
It's not just the looks. When filled, warmed, and placed in the body cavity, Jamie's Tauntaun intestines will have the same thermal conductive properties of internal organs.
I have to admit that when I was 13, when I fantasized about being inside the Star Wars universe, I have to tell you, it never occurred to me that I would be operating on a Tauntaun. Well, the cavity is set up like a nice, neat envelope, and all we need now is a stand-in Luke Skywalker, hopefully one that can freeze to death. Let's see. Ah, ding, found it. Remember this guy we built for the Titanic myth?
Look at you, you handsome devil.
He's got over a quarter mile of copper tubing veins, plus a 300-watt heater that keeps his body temperature at exactly 98.6. All we gotta do is dress him up in Luke's costume, stuff him in our finished Tauntaun inside of some kind of freezer we haven't figured out how to build yet, and we get to test this myth. Go! Go! Oh.
Now, I remember the first time I saw Star Wars as a little kid, and the moment I saw that movie, my whole life was changed.
I was 7 years old when Star Wars came out in 1977. I waited in line outside the Mann's Chinese Theater in Hollywood with my mom. And I even grew up to work on the Star Wars series as an adult at Industrial Light and Magic in the model shop, along with Adam and Tori.
I mean, it was like a dream come true. And now to be here on MythBusters, testing myths from the movie, it's like, blows my mind.
This is my personal Han Solo costume, so yeah, you could say I'm a fan.
The only thing could be better is having a real lightsaber.
Meanwhile, back at the trial run,
Hey, stop that.
Okay, I'm getting out of here.
The Chicken Walker Crusher is cracking under the strain. Some way short of the full 45 degrees. It's let loose now or risk a catastrophic collapse.
All right, this is Giant Log Crusher. Proof of concept. Take it away, Grant.
In 3, 2, 1.
Wow!
They may not have reached the ideal swing height, but there was an encouraging amount of destruction.
That was awesome! I would call that a success. The Ewok weapon seemed to work. However, I think if we put the armored vehicle up there,
Ewoks are squishy when you run them over.
we are not going to see the same type of damage.
This thing feels indestructible.
This big badass truck right here is our MythBusters answer to the light armored vehicle that scout through the Ewok forest. That's better. I'm really curious to see if the Ewoks can take this down.
To find out, they need to seriously reconfigure the rig. And the first part of the solution is more steel for more strength.
Now we are moving on to the armored vehicle. We're going to place that on the ground and lower the logs to the same level. That's going to do, it's going to give us more length on the cable, which in turn means we'll be able to lift those logs higher. And so when we release them, it's going to give us a lot more energy. Say goodbye to the armored truck.
The lengthened cable should ensure they get to the requisite 45 degrees. But with structural stability far from certain, the guys retreat to safety.
Okay, guys, go ahead and pull the logs up.
And while the logs are winched into position, Grant will answer your burning question.
Okay, so you're saying, now wait a minute. Your vehicle's not at the same height as the ATST. Well, just remember what this myth is about. It's about two giant logs crushing an armored vehicle, and that can happen whether it's in the air or on the ground.
Despite the incredible forces at play, the swing is holding. And with the logs in their start position,
all right, take it away.
It's time to find out if the Ewoks' rope and stick trick could have really crushed the steely, mechanical might of the evil Empire.
This is Log Crusher against Chicken Walker, actually armored truck, in 3, 2, 1.
That was beautiful!
Well, there's your answer.
Asked
Star Wars!
and answered.
I really think we're making all those little Ewoks proud. So we are not testing whether or not Ewoks could build this weapon. We're assuming they could. What we're testing is whether or not it's an effective weapon, and we have proven that it is. However, you'd have to be the luckiest little Ewok to make sure that one of those chicken walkers was at the right height and it was at the right spot when the two logs came together. To me, that is a 1 in a million shot.
Unlikely, but possible.
The myth is plausible.
But they're not done yet.
Now we're just looking for some gratuitous crashing and smashing. So we're gonna add a stormtrooper to the cab.
Don't worry about those Ewoks. You're in an armored vehicle. You got nothing to worry about.
Push it back and smash it with our log crusher. Why? Just for the hell of it.
Fire!
Oh, that's gonna be a headache. Well, I guess it's a good day for the rebels on Endor. Let's go home.
Adam and Jamie are testing the Tauntaun sleeping bag. They have a Tauntaun, the intestines, and they've resurrected hypothermia testee Thermo Boy.
Look at you, you handsome devil.
Now, they head for Hoth.
Welcome to the ice planet of Hoth. Okay, it's not Hoth. It's a refrigerator storage facility for food. But it's perfect for us to recreate the conditions on Hoth. This is low budget. All we need is a little set dressing.
And temperatures way, way below freezing. And for that, they're building a dry ice box inside the already icy facility.
He's a big beast.
I'm standing on a 4-inch thick slab of insulating foam. On top of this, we're gonna place, like paving stones, bricks of dry ice. And then the tauntaun goes on top of that. Now, in order to hold that cold in, we're going to box the tauntaun in for the duration of the experiment. I think that worked out actually quite nicely. That box is gonna cover over him and hold that cold, and this foam floor will keep that cold from getting away. Great thing is about dry ice is if you feel a little overly warm in your winter suit, just put one of these inside, regulate your own temp. Woo! Okay, that was a joke. I was kidding. Ow.
So clearly we're going to a lot of trouble to make it quite cold in our freezer. But what's our goal? What is the temperature on Hoth? No one in the movie states the actual temperature. So we looked it up on Wikipedia. And Wikipedia told us that the temperature on Hoth is between -30 and -60 degrees Celsius. But that figure comes from a role-playing game released 10 years after the Star Wars films. Seems a little arbitrary, but for our purposes, to remain canon with the Star Wars universe, as long as our freezer gets between -30 and -60, we're happy. And we'll be cold.
That's the outside environment. Now for the inside of the insides.
Looks like tauntaun gut blue to me.
When dyed blue, sodium polyacrylate is a suitably gross filling.
I've had mornings like this.
Oh! For the tauntaun intestines.
Well, the pump's working great. I think this is our method for filling our guts.
Brilliant. And disgusting. Whoa.
Man, you got it all over your feet.
Once filled,
Looks like he needs a little more fiber.
they'll be warmed in a bath to 99 degrees Fahrenheit. The body temperature of a recently dead Arctic animal.
I'm just gonna zip tie this to this and then we'll massage the guts through the intestines as we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Ooh. That's just fantastic.
Can I make guts or what?
Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh.
This thing keeps farting on me.
Tauntaun polyps.
It's all fun and guts.
Perfect.
Until someone perforates a bowel.
Well, we had everything set and beautiful last night with the guts. Come in this morning and there's a problem. The problem is that the zip ties we used to close up the ends of all of our guts ended up working their way through the vinyl and tearing it. So every single one of our guts is evacuating itself. That one's really bad. So I'm now attempting to empty them all out, mix up a bunch more stuff to go in this, and remake them in a very, very short period of time. It is now of the essence.
With the setback, it's now a race to get set up. First into the bath is Thermo Boy, since he needs to reach body temperature before the experiment can begin.
Excellent. The water's like a nice, really hot bath.
But there's no end to the guts problem.
There's no ends on any of these. This is one.
The retied tubes have somehow untied themselves.
The heat is changing things.
It's just bizarre. This stuff seems so resilient, and then you put it in water, and it's like falling to pieces. This has been a very frustrating morning. Not as frustrating as being on Hoth, but very.
Undeterred, Jamie laboriously reties the organs while Adam plumbs in Thermo Boy's heart pump and heater.
When this gets to 99, we're ready to start this test.
And as they approach body temperature, things are looking up.
This heart here is one of my favorite parts of this experiment. In addition to temperature sensors in his body, in the tauntaun, and in the atmosphere over there, this heart will be pumping blood through him, and it's been calibrated to have the same metabolism as a human body. So if he can't keep up with the cold and starts to go sour, we'll see it right here on this temperature gauge.
But as Thermo Boy gets into costume, this cursed experiment has more heartbreak in store.
Turn the pump off.
A copper tube artery has burst.
He's bleeding. If he bleeds to death before he freezes to death,
It's not a valid experiment.
Do you want a blowtorch?
Let's roll him.
Dr. Heinemann goes to work.
Can we get something to put between his teeth to bite down on?
With no insurance to speak of,
Nippers, please.
Luke gets a fairly basic level of care.
Knife. Anybody with a knife?
Thermo Boy here was a champ on the Titanic episode, but I sort of was making it up as I went when I built him, and he's pretty ambitious. But we sprung a leak in his circulatory system, and that's all she wrote. Don't worry, Thermo Boy. We'll have you good as new in a minute, because we can't provide him with his metabolism. We can't monitor his temperature. We don't have a valid test unless his circulatory system is working. It's blood and no leaks.
Well, our day of 2 steps forward and 1 step back has culminated in effectively what is a waste of a whole day.
You know, it's funny. For some reason, anytime I do a job, things start to burn.
Hopefully, we've learned from our mistakes, so it'll go much smoother tomorrow. Hope springs eternal.
With Thermo Boy patched up
Let's get the second pair of pants on.
and dressed up, the troubles of yesterday
Tauntaun delivery. Who ordered the tauntaun?
seem so far away.
So now, the next step is to put Luke in a tauntaun. It sounds perfect. Put him in the sub-zero weather of Hoth and find out if Han was doing the right thing.
Once Luke is in place, they'll add the organs they managed to salvage. Meanwhile, in go the bath-warmed bodily fluids,
Great big gobs of goopy, grimy tauntaun guts.
which raises a question. What is a tauntaun anyway?
Okay, up!
Okay, so we've got this fictitious creature named a tauntaun, and it comes from the fictitious planet Hoth, which we know is very cold.
Luke is going into the tauntaun.
That actually fit.
We've decided to construct our tauntaun to be very like a polar bear.
And I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
The polar bear has a thick layer of fur and a thick layer of blubber.
So that's liver. Here comes the spleen.
Our tauntaun has a thick layer of fur, but in lieu of blubber, it has some foam rubber.
I know what that is.
To maintain that model, the tauntaun's core temperature will start the test about the same as a polar bear's, 99 degrees Fahrenheit.
Tauntaun Express.
You're clear on your left? All right, you can lower him down.
But it's far from easy.
With the necessity to have the tauntaun's core temperature be the right number and Luke's core temperature being the right number. All right, I'm gonna start Luke's heart. And the actual Hoth planet's surface being the right temperature, with the shelter built around it, probes inside of it, cameras, heart blood pumping from the outside. This is, without a doubt, the most complex and sensitive experimental rig we have ever implemented on this show.
With the tauntaun laying atop his bed of dry ice,
All right.
he's boxed in.
Ladies and gentlemen, night has fallen on Hoth.
The temperature plummets, and all is finally ready.
So we have hit our lower temperature limit. Between the several hundred pounds of dry ice and the very cold ambient temperature here in the freezer, we are maintaining a steady negative 40 degrees Celsius. Now, it's true that is not the coldest possible temperature on Hoth, but it is smack in the middle of the butter zone, and we're happy with that.
All right, sir, it's time.
Off we go.
The question is, how long does Luke have in here? Well, Han says this will keep you warm until I can get a shelter built.
All right, time 0, Luke's core, 95.
Now, average time it would take a climber under very adverse conditions to build a snow cave is between 2 and 3 hours.
I've built a snow cave, you know.
Yeah?
Spent the night in one up on a mountaintop.
Given that Han is a capable fellow, he's got a lightsaber, we're giving him 2.5 hours for Luke to survive long enough for the shelter to be built.
With the clock running,
All we gotta do now is wait.
It's all eyes on the gauges, but one of them got a head start.
But wait, I can hear you saying, what? Human body temperature is 98.6. Why are we starting this test with Luke's body temperature at 95? Well, it's because we're making the assumption that he's already suffered some heat loss.
Injured and left for dead, Luke is already mildly hypothermic.
All right, 10 minutes in. Let's see, 94, he's lost a degree.
But he has to hit 82 degrees, the critical point of no return before he dies. Will he make it?
It's 1 hour.
Still reading his core at 93. His heart is still pumping 300 watts, blood trying to warm the outer extremities of his body against the cold, slowly, slowly failing. I remember when we started this, I thought, total BS, no way is it gonna work. The question is, will Han get the ice cave built in time before he reaches abject failure?
The time ticks away, and the wet and warm, recently deceased Tauntaun appears to do exactly what Han intended, because at 2.5 hours, the snow cave is built.
Dude, 2.5 hours is up. Let's go check him out.
And amazingly, Thermo Boy's human equivalent metabolism has only begun to cool down.
What's the data say?
Luke went into the Tauntaun. He was mildly hypothermic at 95 degrees. And in the last 2 hours, he's dropped to only 92.
On the face of it, crawling into a dead animal carcass might not seem to be the best way to stay warm. But the thing is that most mammals are made up of about 75% water. And water has a phenomenal ability to absorb and retain heat. So if you had access to the large thermal mass of a large animal and could get inside it, it might just save your life.
This myth is plausible. However fictional, it's plausible. That's pretty cool.
And so the journey ends. As Newton almost said, the Force equals MythBusters times awesome.
Tauntaun guts.
The team pulled back the curtain, examined, explored, and experimented. They tested one of the greatest tall tales of all time.
You look fantastic.
And made it a reality.
You totally made it! Fight me, Empire!